See.
Redo?
Yes, sir. We'll be starting with the mission.
Okay.
Renu, is it SVEC or SVC? SVC, na?
But for the principal,
गीतसाराय गीतत Yeah, I think so, sir.
Pin on my map. So I look forward to coming to Hyderabad sometime in the future. Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. I'll let's see. I have some slides. Let's see. There we go. Can you see the slide? Okay. Let me put it in full mode. Can you see it? I'll hide this here. There. So I just want to spend a few minutes and talk about the importance of IEEE PES participation in your career. You know, as I said in my brief inaugural talk, all of you have an opportunity with the new chapter to do so many things, and I really mean this, so many things. And you can see this is just an example of some of the leadership positions I've had in the 50 years of being in IEEE. But this is my brief background. You know, I have many papers and articles, 5 books. But one thing that I want to stress, you know, in addition to your schoolwork, in addition or full-time engineering work, if you've graduated, you have to take good care of yourself. It's very important to have a good balance between health and work, health and studies. And I've been working out with a personal trainer for over 10 years. I was running 5K races regularly. I'll be 70 years old in December, and I typically will win my age group in a race. I'm very competitive, and I keep in very good shape. In the lower right here is my trainer, who was a professional American football player for the Atlanta Falcons and Chicago Bears. Very good athlete. In the upper right, when my son got his MBA from Duke University, we ran a 5K race on the Duke University campus. That's my son and I the day after his MBA graduation. I've been married 41 years, 2 children, 2 grandchildren. So you can imagine my wife, who's not an engineer, has been to many IEEE PES meetings and knows a lot more about IEEE PES than many members do. Not that she wanted to, but she's been involved in so many dinners and activities with me that she knows a lot of the key PES people and knows a lot about PES. Okay. Now, as a student member of IEEE, you receive IEEE Potentials magazine. Okay. And if in the 2011 November-December issue, IEEE Potentials asked me to write an article about my very first full-time engineering job and what I learned from that. Now, I grew up in the Chicago area, but my very first job was in San Francisco, so all the way to the west coast of the United States. So I titled the article, "Go West, Young Man," my first job. But some of the things, and particularly with respect to IEEE PES, was as soon as I got to San Francisco, I became actively involved in the IEEE PES chapter, local chapter in San Francisco. I always volunteered to give talks. I put a 6-week course together on what was called the IEEE Red Book, how to develop power systems for industrial applications. And, just remember now, the more effort you put into something, the more you get out of it, okay? So when don't just go to a meeting and sit in the back row and not say anything. That's not what I like to do. I want to go to the room of the meeting and I want to be in the front leading the meeting. I want to be the leader, okay? I get more out of it that way. So a couple things that I learned in this first job was, don't let a disappointing work or school situation affect your attitude at work, because things change. So it's very easy if something doesn't go well to really feel down, right? Not be sad. But don't do that, Don't let any disappointing situation affect your attitude at work, because things change. Nothing is forever in the real world. Also, don't feel that if you're part of a team, don't feel that you're such an important part of the team that the team wouldn't be successful without you. In other words, no one is indispensable. Okay, that's a very, very, not a good attitude to have, that you're much better than others or that you're so valuable that the team wouldn't do well without you. That's not true. The team is equal people. Continue to do more than is expected, and always provide value to the team, value to the company. In engineering, we need to practice accuracy without precision. One of my bosses, one of my managers told me that in my very first job. As engineers, many times we're overly precise. We're too precise, particularly with calculators and computers. So think about how much precision you need, and practice accuracy without precision in all your engineering work. For me, I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in power engineering. And then I got an MBA from University of California, Berkeley, specializing in finance. The reason I did that was, a good engineer should know the technical side of engineering, but also the business side of engineering. You have to know how to put a business case together for a technical project, okay? And serve as a mentor for young engineers. I'm gonna be talking a lot about mentoring. And the reason is that what we do, when you finish your studies and you start working full-time, the work that we do is an art. It's not a science. It's more than a science. It's an art, okay? The science part of it is reading the books at school and learning the theory, okay? But that's just the beginning. When you start working full-time, you need to spend time with very experienced people, and they teach you how to apply the theory in the real world, and that's the art. You can't read a book to learn the art, and you can't learn the art overnight or in a week. It takes many years, okay? And so it's important for young engineers to have a mentor, at least one mentor, and I'm going to talk more about that, because the mentor can provide that art to you, can teach you that art, okay? And then what's very important is this last bullet. Get involved in outside activities like IEEE PES. Offer to give talks. Offer to teach courses. In 1987, I joined the IEEE PES Substations Committee. That's one of the technical committees I mentioned. Remember, we write all the standards for the industry. In 1987, I joined the Substations Committee to learn the technology in greater depth. I helped write industry standards. In 1 year, I became a working group chair. In a couple more years, I became a subcommittee chair. And in 2001 and 2002, I was chair of the entire Substations Committee, 500 global experts in substations. And we wrote a book that's in its 3rd edition called Electric Power Substations Engineering, 22 chapters, the most practical reference book in substations, the most widely used reference today, okay, in substations. So again, the 3 areas of benefits to you with IEEE PES. You want to learn the technology in a much broader way and a more depth. Second is you want to extend your network of contacts. You know, when I post something on LinkedIn, I have over 14,000 connections on LinkedIn that see everything I post immediately, okay? I have thousands of views, thousands of likes, thousands of comments, and it's through many, many years of helping people, working with people, that I've been, you know, getting connected with many people all over the world. And then leadership benefits. Again, volunteer for leadership positions. Very, very important. So you really do need a mentor, and have at least one mentor, preferably more than one, because that gives you different perspectives. Now, recently, in the last couple of years, I was chair of one of the 4 subcommittees in the IEEE PES Long Range Planning Committee. And earlier this year, in January, I began a pilot program in IEEE PES for mentoring. In fact, I was mentoring 5 young people, 5 students myself, as part of this program. So what I suggest for your chapter, you could do this locally with your chapter, is reach out to not only academic people, but experienced industry people, and get a list of mentors, and then see what students might want to be mentored, and have a list of students, list of mentors, and start a mentoring program locally, right? You can do that driven locally by your new chapter, okay? We also, there's something called reverse mentoring, where in GE, in my company, I was mentored by a young person who just graduated from a university. He joined GE in our 2-year IT leadership program, and he became my mentor, my what's called reverse mentor. And Computer World Magazine did an article on reverse mentoring, and they interviewed Chris, my reverse mentor. So let me just, the top right picture here is I was a judge in 17 PhD students at Texas A&M University for a poster contest on their research, their PhD research. And Chen here, Yan, won the contest, and she did a phenomenal job, and that's a photo of me and her first place certificate. The middle photo is Shetali. Shetali is from Mumbai, did her BTech in India, came to the United States, got a master's degree in electrical engineering at Michigan Tech University, is doing consulting engineering work in Michigan. And I've been mentoring her for 4 or 5 years now, and I helped her get approval. This is 2018 at the IEEE PES T&D conference in Denver. This was the very first IEEE PES meeting she was able to go to, and I helped her get approval from her company. And this is in the GE exhibit booth at the conference. And lower right is Chris, who was my reverse mentor. Actually, the program was a 3-year program, but we continued to meet after the program was over. Now, no matter how experienced you are, you can, you know, even at my level, I'm an executive at GE. I had a senior executive assigned to me by HR, by human resources, to mentor me. And this was fantastic. It was an excellent opportunity for me to have someone that I could confide in. I could talk to confidentially and get valuable feedback. So no matter how old you are, no matter how experienced you are, you can always learn from others. The top right photo here is very special. It was at a CGRE meeting in Paris. CGRE and IEEE PES are very close. We have a memo of understanding, and this was a CGRE Paris session that happens every 2 years. You can see I'm on the right. In the middle is Pat Ryan. Pat was the executive director of PES until he passed away from cancer last year. Very, very sad. When I was IEEE PES president in 2006 and 7, I hired Pat to be the 3rd executive director of PES in the history of PES. And he started in April of 2007 during my presidency, and fought a battle with cancer and just lost the battle last year. On the left here is Miroslav Begovic in the picture. Miroslav at the time was the IEEE PES president. at the time was a professor at Georgia Tech. He's now the department head of electrical engineering at Texas A&M University. Laura Wright, I put together a panel session in Istanbul, Turkey, of past PES presidents. So on the left is myself, then next to me is Damir Novosel, past president, Nurislav, and then Jay Geary is very well known in the industry, one of the pioneers in what we call SCADA systems, supervisory control and data acquisition. So I mentioned that you want to get involved in outside activities, and IEEE PS is ideal. So if you have 100% internal focus, that means as a student, you go to the university, you do your coursework, you come home, and you just totally focused on the university work. You know, you may do well at the university, but you're not developing yourself totally. You're not developing your career. You really want to have a balance between internal and external focus. External means what's happening in the world around you. And the way to do that is really get involved in the IEEE PES. Okay, that's what I've done for 50 years, you know. And the reason is when you get out and start working, if you don't have any external focus, you may be making decisions for your company that aren't optimum, that aren't the best decisions, because you don't know what's happening in the world around you. What are the industry trends? The top right photo is Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I'm chairing or moderating a panel session of key utility executives in Brazil. And the lower right was a conference, T&D conference in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and GE had an exhibit booth, and we were just getting ready to open up the booth for the conference for customers to come see us. And I was getting all of our young people from GE energized to get ready to talk to the customers. It was a lot of fun with a lot of our young people there at GE all getting together and saying, you know, let's go. Let's get ready to meet the customers when they come see us. Okay, now international experience is a must. I know with COVID it's been difficult, but as we get out of COVID and the situation in India gets better, we're able to do some more traveling. I'm able to come to India again, have some aloo paratha, you know, locally. You need international experience. You need to know the regional differences in technology, standards, policy, and business cases. You know, you can't assume that what you develop in India and that has a good market in India will have a good market in other places in the world. There's very different situations around the world. So you really want to look for minimum 6-month assignments, you know, in different parts of the world, discuss with your manager, you know, utilize your network of contacts to find opportunities. Because what we do when we work around the world is we learn differences in cultures. You know, for instance, when we exchange business cards in Asia, I put down my computer bag, I put down everything that's in my hands, and I hold my business card with both hands, and it's a formal exchange. This is very important in Asian countries, okay? We don't do that way in the United States, but we have to respect other cultures. We have to understand other cultures. Now, I'm very proud to say in the top right picture here is my wife and I have a kurta. That's one of my favorite kurta, the red one. My wife in a sari. And with us, you might recognize my son from the photo of running. And my son fell in love with a beautiful, beautiful woman from India, from Mumbai. And so 5 years ago, we had a Hindu-Christian wedding here in Atlanta. Her name is Meeta. She's from Mumbai. And so here we're in Chicago, and we're going to a wedding of some Indian family that we're friends with. So we were just leaving the hotel to go to the wedding, okay? And then lower right, you know, with the last name McDonald, I have some Scottish heritage. My mother is actually Greek, but my father is Scottish. And one of my dreams was to go to a wedding in Scotland wearing a kilt and having the kilt be my family tartan, okay? And so this is in Edinburgh, Scotland, just before a wedding. and I'm wearing the dress McDonald tartan kilt. This was a dream for me. My wife took this photo right before we went to the wedding. So international experience, I did 3 years of consulting work for Scottish Power. And and I've done a lot of work in India. So international experience is very, very important, okay? Now, training is extremely important. You can never have enough training. IEEE PES is a tremendous source, and I'll talk more about that. But the first is internal training. And what I mean here is maybe training courses within the company you work for, okay? And those are easy to do, and you need to research those. When you get out of the university and begin working, find out what the training courses are that the company offers, and discuss with your manager, what courses you should take. The lower left here, this is Professor Minnie Thomas. Now, Minnie invited me as a distinguished lecturer in 2003, December of 2003, to come to New Delhi to Jamia Millia Islamia University and teach a 2-day course on substation automation. I became an IEEE fellow in 2003. I was one of the pioneers of adding intelligence to a substation. Beginning in the 1980s, I was doing this work in the very beginning. So Minnie's dream was to write a book. And so I helped her, and we spent over 2 years, and we wrote a book called Power Systems SCADA and Smart Grids. SCADA is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. This photo was taken in 2015 at the IEEE PES General Meeting in Denver, and our book just was published just before the meeting. And this was the very first time we were holding a copy of the book. And we spent so much time and so much work writing this book. It was we were so happy to hold the final product. It was a beautiful, beautiful book that took a lot of time and effort. So this is one of the 5 books that I've worked on, and it was really fun. Minnie now, by the way, Minnie has a 5-year assignment. She's the director of the NIT in Trichy. And I think in India, she's the only woman that's ever been an IIT or NIT director. At least I think when she started that assignment in Trichy, she was the first woman to have that position. Lower right is, to me, the premier engineering university in China, in Beijing, called Tsinghua University. And here I'm with professors and graduate students, and I just finished giving a workshop on smart grid with some very, very, very smart professors and graduate students. This was, I tell you, it was a few years ago. I was in Mumbai, invited by the professors and graduate students at IIT Mumbai to do a smart grid workshop for them. And very, very, a lot of fun, very challenging with some very, very smart professors and graduate students. So there's external training, and this is where the IEEE PES can help you. First of all, there's a lot of IEEE courses for electrical engineering. There's industry conference tutorials. Universities have continuing education courses, and then there's distance learning. I mentioned we have the PES University. You should really go online and see everything that's available from the PES University. I've done courses, I've done webinars, tutorials for IEEE PES, IEEE Smart Grid, and IEEE Educational Activities. And you can Google, you can search on the internet, my name and IEEE PES, or my name and IEEE Smart Grid, and you can see all the courses that are available online. So you should choose at least 1 to 2 or more to take each year. Okay, very, very important to these are all available to you. They're all online. You don't have to travel anywhere. Now it's nice at a PES general meeting to take a tutorial that's given in person, but there's many that are given online. I usually teach a tutorial at each general meeting and the T&D conference on distribution automation and advanced distribution management systems. Now, the upper picture here is the United States Military Academy at West Point. And this is the roof of the Thayer building, which is the electrical engineering building. And this is Professor Aaron St. Ledger. In the IEEE PS, Aaron established in the beginning the IEEE PS Young Professionals Program, the YP program. I said we have 6,200 young professionals participating. Aaron was the one that organized this initially. And I was at West Point teaching some electrical engineering courses for Aaron, and I took this picture of Aaron. He was instrumental in getting these photovoltaic panels installed on the roof of the building. Lower left is a workshop I gave in Istanbul, Turkey at a university. And lower right is the night before I was giving a distinguished lecture in Costa Rica. And you might recognize in the middle here is Juan Carlos Mateo. He just finished 5 years as the IEEE PS Vice President of Membership and Image. And the left here is Jeffrey Peralta. He was the chapter chair of the IEEE PS chapter in Costa Rica. Okay. Now, job length. I find that young people sometimes are a little bit impatient. I say sometimes we have a microwave mentality. We expect things to be done very quickly, and then we want to go to something else. You need to spend enough time in your job, though, to learn the depth of the technology, but also to learn or to meet all the key people. So, my generation, we would spend at least 3 to 4 years on each job assignment. Now I find, it's hard to get young people sometimes to spend more than 1.5 to 2 years. Longer assignments also force you to live with the impact of your decisions. So don't be in too much of a hurry. And I'll tell you why in a minute here with another slide. But spend the time you need to really learn the job and learn the technology. Now, on the right here is a restaurant in Indianapolis that had a 1-pound hamburger. Okay, you can see how big that hamburger is. And if you could eat the hamburger within an hour, they took your photo and posted it on the wall of the restaurant. So my granddaughter is in the photo lower right. That's Ashley, and I've competed in many professional eating contests my whole life. I can eat an enormous amount of food and never get full. So this was no problem for me. I had a 1-pound hamburger. I ate the whole thing in about 5 minutes. And so the photo that's on the wall of the restaurant is the lower right there. And I said, I want the photo. I want Ashley sitting on my lap, and we're going to hold the plate up and say, all gone. The food is all gone. So lower right, that was a lot of fun. She couldn't believe how big that hamburger was, and then she couldn't believe how quickly I ate the whole thing. Lower left is a very special moment in U.S. history. I'm holding the Bible for my brother, who was being sworn in as a cabinet secretary for President Obama. He was the Secretary of Veterans Affairs for 2.5 years for the United States. And he was the 8th Secretary of Veterans Affairs in the history of the United States. So this is a swearing-in ceremony in Washington, D.C. And I had the honor of holding the Bible. Very special moment for my family with my brother and I. Now, his job length was limited to until the end of President Obama's presidency, which it was about 2.5 years. Okay. Now, the reason you want to spend enough time on your job is to learn the depth. I find too many surface people. I ask them a question and they only can stay on the surface of the technology. They have no depth. Why? Because they've been impatient. They wanted to do something for a little bit of time and then move on to something else, move on to something else. The problem is they're a surface person, and it's difficult to get value from them when you talk to them because they always stay on the surface. You'll have more value within your company and much more value with your company's customers if you have depth. Okay. Now, external focus with industry participation, like IEEE PES, and leadership and taking leadership opportunities and expanding your network of contacts provide you that depth and a much broader perspective. Companies want people with depth. They don't want general surface people. Okay. Well, this was really funny. In the upper right here, my daughter, for the first time, got a washer and dryer where you put the clothes in the side instead of the top. So when it was operating, you could actually see the drum going around and see the clothes spinning around. The day that they were delivered and she did her very first load of laundry, my granddaughter and my grandson were so interested in that they got their little chairs from a different part of the house, carried their chairs in front of the washer, and sat down and just watched the clothes go around, okay? Because they had never seen it before. This is a good example of depth, right? A surface person would have walked by, looked at it, but not studied it, okay? This was a good example of, let's watch this, and study it. We're very lover, wife and I, we've had dogs ever since we were married. This was our previous dog, Sky. I would always give Ashley horsey back rides. She was ready to get on my back. My wife put our dog, Sky, on my back. Sky was my close buddy, and she was very comfortable and wasn't going to jump off. She was going to stay there. And Ashley's saying, wait a minute, I want to be on Papa's back to get a horsey ride. I don't want the dog there. And there was a funny look on Ashley's face, not knowing what to do. Okay, now if we're too much in a hurry, we will tend to be transactional rather than strategic. And many companies are too transactional. What orders can you bring me today? What orders can you bring me this week? But we need to have a balance between transactional and strategic, okay? Yes, we do need orders right away, but we also need customers in the long term. We need to have a pipeline of opportunities, okay? So strategic, okay? The way you make long-lasting friendships with your contacts in industry is by being long-term, being strategic, okay? Now, the picture in the upper right is an IEEE PES board dinner. So at every general meeting, every T&D conference, the board will get together one night for a dinner. And this is a board dinner. And you can see me on the right, big smile on my face. At every board dinner, I have a fork that I can expand it. It's like it used to be. It's the old type of pointer that was metal and it was small. You could put it in your pocket, but when you wanted to use it, it was like a telescope. You could make it, expand it and make it bigger. Well, I have one with a fork at the end. You can see it in the photo. And I would, when dessert was served at our board dinners, I would sneak around and try to steal. And this is Professor Manny Venkata. Try to steal some of his dessert. And you can see his left hand. He caught me. He's grabbing my extended fork. I'm trying to get his dessert. And so the person behind me with his hand on my shoulder is Mel Olkin, the very first executive director of PES. Next to Mel was the IEEE president at the time, Roberto DeMarca. And next to Roberto is Professor Minnie Thomas from New Delhi. Okay. Now, lower right, how many of you have seen the movie Apollo 13? You'll remember Jim Lovell was captain. That was the Apollo flight that was supposed to go to the moon and had an explosion in the capsule. And they were lucky to get home alive, the 3 astronauts. Apollo 13 is a phenomenal story of engineering excellence and taking the resources you have available. And it's a lesson in strategy with your life at stake. I had the opportunity in San Diego to speak with Jim Lovell for about 5 minutes, one-on-one. And it was an experience I'll never forget. Here's what he went through with his life at stake in space and talking about strategy is it's just incredible. So that was I'll never forget that experience. One thing you always have to do is focus on networking. Always develop and expand your network. You want to provide value with every acquaintance and stay in touch with your personal relationships. Future job opportunities will come from your network. Upper right is Al Rotz here on the right of the picture. This upper picture is a past PES president. So Al, his wife Pat, and my wife get together with them. Lower right, Noel Schultz is in the middle. She's a past PES president, our second female president in the history of PES. Her husband there is the president of Washington State University. Noel is the professor there, and I was giving smart grid lectures to her electrical engineering classes. So again, very strong network. Social media. One thing that's very important to you is LinkedIn. I can't emphasize enough how important LinkedIn is. It's the most important for work, for industry. You really want to develop a detailed personal profile. It's very critical. You can ask for written recommendations from peers and managers. That's part of your profile. My strategic connections now, I said, are over 14,000. Okay. So at GE, you have young people who are specialists in social media, and they grade our profiles on 14 criteria. And I have one of the top profiles in GE. So, if you want, you can connect with me on LinkedIn and really look at my profile. And that's a good model for the detail that you need to have. I also use Twitter a lot. And then I use Facebook a lot, but primarily for personal and family. The upper right is I've been interviewed by the Weather Channel about the huge blackout we had in the United States and Canada in 2003. This was the 10-year anniversary in 2013. And the question was, have we improved the grid so that blackout won't happen again? And lower right is an live interview I did in Istanbul, Turkey. Okay. So you want to have a good work-life balance. I wanted to do well with my job, but I didn't want to have a job. Let's say I wanted to have a job where I had flexibility with work so I could do a lot of things with my kids and my kids' activities. I took leadership positions outside of work with neighborhood homeowners associations. I'm an Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts. My son is an Eagle Scout. I was the Cub Scout den leader for 5 years. I had 9 boys through elementary school for 5 years as their leader. And I was never too busy with work to talk with my spouse or kids. That's very, very important. And when you're with your spouse or kids, spend quality time. No email, no texting, no computer games. And so lower left here is my wife and I. Then I have photos of my son and I, and many years apart with Hawaiian shirts on. That was when he was 5 years old in kindergarten, or 6 years old in kindergarten. And then next to that, we tried to recreate that picture a number of years later. And my daughter and I, above that, and then on the right is a family photo with our 4 dogs. My granddaughter's holding the 4th dog. She's black, and it's hard to see, but this is a family photo. Okay. Again, work-life balance. Include your family and work and industry activities. As I said, the 12 years I was on the IEEE PS board, there's 4 board meetings a year. My wife went with me to 48 different PES board meetings all over the world. She knows a lot about IEEE PS. I took my kid, when I got awards at PES banquets, my kids were with me, So on the lower left is my wife and I, right after we got our present dog, Bruno. He's a golden doodle. Next to that is the night of my birthday at my daughter's house. We just had birthday cake, and you see my grandchildren having fun climbing on my back. Next photo is I volunteered in my granddaughter's, at the time, second grade classroom, and I did a math center. And her teacher took this photo of Ashley and I, and Ashley was holding up her math center work. And on the lower right is Disney World, when we were at Disney World a couple of years ago. Okay. Career planning. You wanna take charge of your career and plan it yourself. Okay. Be proactive, and really don't wait for other people to help you, but you have to take the initiative. Take the initiative to get involved in PES. Take the initiative to get involved in standards writing, or get involved in giving talks, or writing a book, or doing a paper. Don't wait for other people to encourage you to do it. Do it yourself. Follow through with it yourself. That's very important. Lower left here is at an IEEE PS meeting. That's Natalie at the time was on the IEEE Foundation, and Babak, I've been mentoring Babak. He's now the VP of Education for the IEEE PES. Center photo is at a industry meeting with two graduate students from Arizona State University who had come from China to do graduate work in the U.S. And lower right here is in the middle is Ella Macram, professor at Clemson University, and my nephew, Sam. Okay, and I'll finish here. This is part of networking, part of IEEE, and part of some of the experiences that you can have. I'll go clockwise. Upper right is me. I've spent a lot of time at IEEE headquarters in Piscataway, New Jersey, and I had the receptionist take this photo of me on one of my trips near the IEEE logo. Lower right, I spent some time in Tunisia giving 4 distinguished lectures, 1 at an industry conference and 3 at universities for students. It was one of the best times I had. 2/3 of the engineering students in Tunisia are female. 2/3. And so this was one of the most fun experiences I had. And this is after one of my talks at one of the universities, and the students and the student leadership taking a selfie group photo of us. The next photo is I represented IEEE in a humanitarian 3-year initiative with Africa. And the goal was to help bring electricity to more people in Africa. So this photo is actually in Ghana, Accra, Ghana, just a couple of years ago. And I spent many days there helping them bring electricity to more people in Ghana. Next to that is, I'm in the middle. On my left is Professor Carlo Alberto Nucci. And on the right of the photo is Professor Cecilia Mitra. This is the University of Bologna in Italy, the 2nd oldest university in all of Europe. And I gave a distinguished lecture in the auditorium there. Professor Mitra, Cecilia, was the very first female president for the IEEE Computer Society. That's the largest society in IEEE. So it was a real honor for her, not only to meet her, but she attended my lecture. Lower left here is in Zambia. So this is in Lusaka, Zambia. And again, in Zambia, 60% of the population do not have electricity today. And so I was helping them. And this was after a workshop. I was doing workshops at the School of Engineering in Zambia. And this is actually the IEEE leadership in Zambia. And then last photo, upper left, you might recognize Barry Shoup on the left was the IEEE president, all of IEEE in 2016. And he was the department head of electrical engineering at West Point. And I was invited to his retirement ceremony. I'm very close friends with Barry and his wife, Linda. And this was an honor to be at his retirement ceremony. And also I hosted him at GE during his 1 year of IEEE presidency. He gave an invited talk for us. So these are some of the experiences you can get with IEEE PES participation. And it's, it's something that that you really want to take advantage of. You have a new chapter, and you have lots of opportunities. And so I'll stop there. And I don't know if we have any time. We could have questions if we have time. I'd be happy to do that if you want.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving such a valuable information. Renu? Excuse me, Renu, please take over the Q&A session.
Renu, you are in mute. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you. I was. It was a great lecture, and how work and family how they have to be, merged together. And it was a wonderful, this thing. I think you have given a lot of information about PES, and we are very grateful to you for having come here and shared your experiences in IEEE. And I am sure many of our younger students will get motivated, and they will take the tips which you have given. Thank you very much for a wonderful session.
You're welcome. Oh, there was a question. Yeah, that's a question I get a lot. Is how do you do all the things that you do and still spend time with family and work? Obviously, what's very important is our work, because that's how we get paid for our work. Volunteering we don't get paid for, but we receive a lot of other benefits. And then we have family. So we need to have a balance between those. And I always, as I advanced in my career, I always wanted jobs, right? I wanted to work for companies and wanted jobs that gave me flexibility. So if I wanted to take some time during the day and go to the elementary school and have lunch with my child or my grandchild, I could do that. If I wanted to chaperone one of their field trips, I could do that. Okay. If I wanted to, do Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and camping trips and things like that, I had the flexibility to do that. So I think you have to, it depends on your priorities, right? And you have to look for jobs, look for situations that give you the flexibility that you want. Now, I think what's important is that, when you do things, don't just sit in the back of the room, but take a leadership position, okay? And a good example is you're waiting for a bus, and the bus stops. You have two choices. You could get on the bus and sit in the very back of the bus, and then you don't know where the bus is going to go. It depends on the driver, right? Or you could get on the bus and be the driver of the bus, right? You're the leader. You're the one deciding where the bus is going to go. So in the first situation, you're reactive, right? You're reacting. In the second situation, you're proactive. You're taking the lead, okay? Here's my philosophy. With your life, you want to be proactive with your life. Take leadership positions. Know what those decisions are going to be. You can have a better family life. You can do better with work and your career because you're involved in making the decisions. You know what those decisions are going to be. If you're always reactive, your life is a compromise. It depends on the decisions that other people are making for you. And your life is like a ping pong ball. Ping pong ball. You're just bouncing. You're bouncing back and forth. Okay? And you're bouncing based on decisions made by other people. So you never know what the future is going to be, because other people are making those decisions. So take charge of your life. Be proactive. Be the one driving the bus, okay? Be the one making the decisions. Then you can have a much better family life, a much better career, do much better at work because you're the one leading, okay? You always want to be the leader. And you find the time to do the things that you want to do. Never give any excuses. Never say I didn't have time to do that. That's a cop-out. It's not that you didn't have time. It's just that it wasn't important enough. for you to do it. It wasn't important enough for you to spend the time to do it. If something is important to you, you will find the time to do it. So that's how I do so many things. You know, like Renu, when you asked me to help, I said I would love to help inaugurate your new chapter. Sure, I'm very busy, but I want to do that. I will find the time to do it. It's something that I want to do. Okay? And my wife sometimes says to me, John, you have to learn how to say no to people. And I can't say no. If I can help somebody, I always say yes. And you find the time to do it. Okay? So it's a matter of what is important to you. Okay? You will find the time to do things. So be proactive, right? Have a good balance. Have your priorities in the right place. Okay? And spend quality time. Don't sit in the back of the room. Don't sit in the back of the bus, but be the leader. Okay? You will be much richer for it. You'll have a much better life, and you will learn much more. Okay? From that.
Thank you, John, sir. Renu, let me do that this word. Renu, just be John, sir. I have to thank you personally, sir, because the words and the statements that what you have stated regarding work-life balance. So it is a much needed for a lady, I think, so, sir. But the way how you have conveyed and the way how you have given the path-making thoughts, so I think I have to give priorities. The priority management is the main motor behind any success. So the way how you have showed, the tips what you have given for us will make us to initiate much more things. Sir. Thank you so much. Personally, thank you for these things, sir. Thank you, John, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Renu?
It was really wonderful, and I just wanted to also inform our students and others. We are having a very good mentoring program also. As John was mentioning, we are having a mentoring program in this section, and in fact, we have already given the e-notice, and I would request all of you to look for this mentorship. All of us are ready to mentor you, and also we are having talk to the kind of seniors, graduate students, or anybody and on an individual to individual basis. We can just listen to them, whatever problem they are facing. We are ready to help them. So these programs, and we are having a skill connect program also, which is really very good, and we are in fact having it in the web design, and we're using Java and other things. But also now for IoT, we are going to have a similar program. It's really, all these things are extremely useful for students, and I am sure all of them will get benefited by this. And I am very thankful to the management and the college principals and others who are really who are very active. And as our Vidyasagar was telling, we should continue to be extremely active. And then we are all there to work along with you. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Balsubrahmanyam, sir. Thank you for your support, sir. And we will take suggestions what we have posted regarding mentoring session, sir. We will contact you soon, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I would be happy to help you in the future too. But just let me know if I can help you in the future by giving additional talks or any questions you have about PES. Let me know. Okay, I'd be happy to help you. Pardon? Yeah. Well, I think the best person to contact now is Dan Tolan, and offline, I can give you his contact information. Until we hire a new executive director of PES, he's the acting executive director, and I can help you get in contact with him. Okay. All right. Well, good luck with your new chapter. I wish you success. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you, Renu. I take the opportunity to put my gratitude into words on behalf of IEEE SVCE FD and the IEEE SVCE PES chapter. We are truly humbled by our numerous insights contributions to this lecture. Contribution of such caliber can come from individuals like you, sir. We would be like to express our profound gratitude to you, sir, for taking out your precious time and consenting to be the speaker of today's session. Once again, thank you, sir, and thank you everyone you made this session successful. Thanks again.
Sir, it's a special thanks from SP College, sir, John McDonald, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your availability. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much.
Bhaskar, sir, for your availability. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. All right. I look forward to seeing you in Hyderabad. All right. Bye-bye.
Renu, stop recording.